Hello, persistent pineapples. I hope you're doing well. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Miss M has her green on, and I wanted to show you some of my things. I have my shamrock hats. I also have a big hat. Here it is. But I have too much hair. It doesn't really fit me very well. And I have my knitting, so I wanted to show you. Miss M always talks about her knitting. I'm making a scarf during this time off. I thought that would be helpful. Well, because it is St. Patrick's Day, and I'm disappointed that Miss M forgot her St. Patrick's Day books at school, I thought I would read a book, though, about magic, because leprechauns are filled with magic. So I've selected today to read Possum Magic by Mem Fox, illustrated by Julie Vivas. This book is very special to me. My mother-in-law got me this book many years ago. It's set in Australia, which is a continent very far away. When Miss Lee Hockey does Tandy Time, we'll have to have her show you on the globe or the pull-down map where Australia is. And my mother-in-law got me this book when she went to visit her family there, and she wanted me to know some of the foods that she grew up on. So let's see what Possum Magic is all about. Once upon a time, but not very long ago, deep in the Australian bush, lived two possums. Their names were Hush and Grandma Poss. Grandma Poss made bush magic. She made wombats blue and kookaburras pink. She made dingoes smile and emus shrink. But the best magic of all was, what do you think? The magic that made Hush invisible. Remember, invisible means no one can see you. We talked about what superpower you wanted when we could choose what superpower. And a lot of you said you wanted to be invisible. Hush is invisible. What adventures Hush had. Because she couldn't be seen, she could be squashed by koalas. Uh-oh. Getting her tail out. Because she couldn't be seen, she could slide down kangaroos. Because she couldn't be seen, she was safe from snakes, which is why Grandma Poss had made her invisible in the first place. So Grandma Poss wanted to protect her from the snakes. Snakes eat possums. But one day, quite unexpectedly, Hush said, "Grandma, I want to know what I look like. Please, could you make me visible again?" "Of course I can," said Grandma Poss, and she began to look through her magic books. And you can see that Grandma Poss can see her reflection, but Hush cannot see her reflection because she's visible. They don't have mirrors like you do in your house. They have to look in a pond. She looked into this book, and she looked into that. There was magic for thin, and magic for fat, magic for tall, and magic for small. But the magic she was looking for wasn't there at all. Do you hear those rhyming words? I hear that and fat. Small, all, and tall. Just like giant all we learn in Letterland. He's working hard. Grandma Poss looked miserable. "Don't worry, Grandma," said Hush. "I don't mind." But in her heart of hearts, she did. Would you like to be invisible forever? I don't think so. It would get lonely, I would think. All night long, Grandma Poss thought and thought. The next morning, just before breakfast, she shouted, "It's something to do with food. People food, not possum food. But I can't remember what. We'll just have to try and find it." So later that day, they left the bush where they'd always been to find what it was that would make Hush seen. When they say they left the bush, it's like their version of a forest. I don't think it has very tall trees, though. They ate Anzac biscuits in Adelaide, Mornay and Minty's in Melbourne, steak and salad in Sydney, and pumpkin scones in Brisbane. Sounds good. Hush remained invisible. Don't lose heart, said Grandma Poss. Let's see what we can find in Darwin. These are all cities in Australia. So they're doing a lot of traveling. It was there in the far north of Australia that they found a Vegemite sandwich. Grandma Poss crossed her claws and crossed her feet. Hush breathed deeply and began to eat. Feet and eat. A tail, shouted both possums at once, for there it was, a brand new, visible tail. Do you see the tail? Something's working. Later, on a beach in Perth, they ate a piece of pavlova. Hush's legs appeared. So did her body. You look wonderful, you precious possum, said Grandma Poss. Next stop, Tasmania. And over the sea they went. Look what they're riding in. It's an umbrella. And she's using her apron as the sail. Do you see that? Very creative. Long journey. In Hobart, late one night in the kitchen of the casino, they saw a lamington on a plate. Hush closed her eyes and nibbled. Grandma Poss held her breath and waited. It's worked! It's worked, she cried, and she was right. Hush could be seen from head to tail. Grandma Poss hugged Hush, and they both danced. Here we go round the lamington plate till early in the morning. They were dancing because they felt so much joy. Hush could see herself now. From that time onwards, Hush was visible. But once a year on her birthday, she and Grandma Poss ate a Vegemite sandwich, a piece of pavlova, and a half of a lamington, just to make sure that Hush stayed visible forever. And she did. So let's find out what some of these things are that Grandma Poss and Hush ate. Anzac biscuits are traditional rolled oat and syrup cookies. It's unusual. Vegemite, brand name for a salty yeast spread used on toast and in children's sandwiches. Now I know Vegemite because Mr. Malahide loves Vegemite. Mrs. Malahide does not. Comes in a jar. It's like this really dark brown syrupy pasty stuff that they put on toast and they love it. Pavlova, a meringue shell topped with fresh fruits and whipped cream. Now that sounds good. Meringue is made with egg whites and baked in the oven. It's very light and airy. It's delicious. Lamington is a square of sponge cake dipped in thin chocolate icing and rolled in coconut. Well, they got me at chocolate. That sounds delicious. And here is the continent of Australia with all the places that they went and where they found all that delicious food. So that's our book, Possum Magic, for today. I hope you all are well. I hope that you are reading. I hope that you're maybe writing. You could write me a letter. I'm going to write you some letters. And listen, if you need anything, your parents have my contact. You can ask me a question and I will answer it on my video. So think about things that you want to know or you have a question about. And tell your mom or your dad or your grandma or your grandpa, and they can send me the question and I can answer it on my video. I can say things like, Jalea had a question about or Amari, or Samia, or Talela, or Aubrey, or Nevaeh, or Jayla. Rejoice, Karan, Samantha, Cameron, Miguel, Serenity, Heaven, Gianna, Maximo, and Victor. I hope you are all doing well. Miss M misses you. I wish you well. And you just have a great night. Night.